Hi, my name is Donna, also known as Donna Janel, CEO and founder of Parenting with a Purpose. Our strive here at the podcast is to reach every home, whether it's single moms, married, single dads, whatever it is, foster parents, whatever, just bringing the ownership and responsibility and nobility back into parenting. Get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. All parents need some help and guidance, and I'm just here to be a guide. Hey everybody, welcome to Parenting with a Purpose podcast. I am your host, Donna Janel. As usual, our aim is to bring back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting. As you know, we're here every Thursday at 7 p.m. We have a variety of topics that we talk about. Parenting, parent comes in all shapes and sizes, genders. Parenting is so broad. It's almost like any diagnosis. Like when you think about diagnosis like autism, it's so broad. Parenting is so broad. Young parents, old parents, in between parents, grandparents are now parents, raising their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, niece, and so forth. So tonight, we're going to be talking again, round 2, with Tamara Lolley. As you know, she came here a couple weeks ago with Be Different. Byron was on the show, had a little guest appearance for a little while, and then he was out. But everybody, you guys got to see Byron and hear Tamara's story about raising Byron, who was diagnosed with Down syndrome, and then also the things that she's doing in the community to help raise awareness for Down syndrome, and how she's actually helped educating parents so that you're not out here by yourself. So tonight, our guest tonight is Tamara Lolley, and this time we decide, actually it was Tamara's idea to bring her other 2 sons on here, because as you know, when you have a child with special needs, it's not just one person who's raising that child. It is the siblings, it is the aunts, the uncles, it's whatever you built your village. And we were talking heavy about a village when she was here, and also the last couple of weeks we were talking heavy about a village. So I thought it would be awesome when Tamara came up with the idea of bringing her village. So tonight our guest is, of course, Tamara Lolley. Hey, good Tamara, evening. Thanks for coming back again.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting us back.
All right, and you want to introduce your sons, or how you want to do that?
Well, you know them. You want to introduce them?
I don't know them jokers.
Well, you don't know us? You don't know us?
The first one here is Ranier Chapman, also known as Ray, and I believe he's your second son, right? Because Byron is the oldest.
Absolutely.
So we have Ranier Chapman, also known as Ray. We have Jaron Lolley. I'm not sure what they call you besides Jaron.
Couple of different names. You can call me Jaron. You can call me Ron, a.k.a. Mr. True Story. I'm here.
Yeah, a.k.a. Mr. True. Pick your choice tonight, Jaron, True Story, Ron, whatever. And he's the youngest, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Other crew. So thanks for coming. Thanks for, I think it's important that you guys are here, because a lot of times, as you know, we're looking on TV, social media, we see a lot of Caucasian families, not just like when they're talking about special needs, and just in parenting in general, everything is almost just like Caucasian. There's not really heavy talk about the African American community unless it's negative.
Yeah.
Right.
We see families when they're crying out when their children being shot. We see families that are crying out when their house being burglarized. We see families then, but not families in the preventive stage or proactive stage, and how you raising a child. Or now Byron's a man.
Yes,
he older than all
man.
y'all. He the old man in the group.
He is. He be 41.
You're about to be 50.
No, I know. 41 on May the 26th.
All right, Byron's birthday 3 days after mine, so he's gonna be 41. And Ray, how old are you?
Just turned 38.
38.
I'm 29.
29. Oh, so you had a little space. Okay.
Yeah. Between him, the last.
Last one, I was like, wait, hold up, I ain't done. Let me try to get one more in there.
Maybe one more. I don't know.
Yeah. But then after you, she was like,
Yeah, that's it.
That was it. So tell me a little bit about what was it like growing up with Byron? Either one of you can talk. Maybe Ray first, because you're older than Jaron. Ron, true story, you know him.
That's right.
So tell me about your earliest remembrance of Byron and things like that.
I didn't actually feel like nothing was wrong with him because I was always around him.
Yep.
So I kind of adapted to who he was.
Okay.
Other people think something was wrong with him. I didn't. I'd say he's smarter than y'all think. So he'll get you, but you know what I mean. But so when I growing up, I always say that was my older brother. But as time grew on, I could see like that decline in the memory. So I did step up and take care of certain things, as a brother keeper. You take care. But other than that, I really didn't see no difference in anything, unless in some things he forget or some things he couldn't do. So I just kind of just step up like any other brother would do.
So Byron being the older brother, and remember, you guys, Byron was diagnosed with Down syndrome.
Absolutely.
And he's nonverbal, right? He has some verbal, but he's labeled
considered
as
nonverbal.
he's considered nonverbal.
Correct.
So growing up with him, he's your older brother. So what? He's about 3 years older, 4 years older,
2.5, like
2.5 years old. So you know how sometimes when you grow up, your older sibling throwing basketball, girls jumping rope. So did you have any of that with Byron growing up?
Nah, because Byron loved basketball. Byron loves wrestling. So all the kind of things that a normal brother would do, we was already doing.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I just took on the older role because of, I'm intelligent. But he was still smart at the same time. He knew right from wrong. He just played it like, I don't know, against people that. So other than that,
he would get people.
he would get people. But other than that, he was very intelligent. So I was like, sometimes it irked me because I'm like, no, don't do it for him because he know what he's doing. But other than that, I just kind of looked as a normal brother, as an older brother.
Now, we said that Byron's nonverbal, so how about your communication with him? How were you able to communicate with him?
Man, talking like any other person.
Yeah, he's nonverbal to people who don't live with us.
Yes.
Byron's a closet talker, huh?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. He'll tell you, listen, I'm hungry, I'm done, I don't want this no more. He'll say all that.
Yep. When you come home, he want his TV turned on. He want a certain channel on.
That's
If
it.
you watching something he don't want to watch, he gonna tell you, I want you to turn the
Why you
TV.
turn my TV?
Yeah.
Oh, so he was like, listen, I'm the big brother. This is what's going to go down.
It was times where we got a little altercation, but I ain't gonna say that. I'm gonna leave that alone.
I was actually about to go there and ask you that.
Okay.
Because, with siblings, I know, me and my older siblings, we tussle. And even me and my younger sister, April, my best friend, but, there's sometimes growing up, I tore her up, right? And she always, I was just the person, I'm older than you, so I get the remote. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, point blank, period. And she wasn't always going for it.
Right,
Thank God we grew out of that stage, and we're best friends now. But I remember sometimes growing up, I was one of 4 at the time. So, my older brother, he thought he was tough or whatever. So I had to fight him a little bit, beat him with a skate on top of his head,
Right.
But how was it like? Did you and Byron?
Oh yeah, me and Byron got in a couple. But me and him never. That's the difference between. I guess he said, "I'm not." I watched them fighting. I'm not.
And Byron got it in.
Oh yeah.
Oh, got it in.
Yeah. Because I was telling at the point in time I was telling him to get in the tub. My mom had told him she was downstairs cooking. She said, "All right, go get your brother, put him in the tub, get him all situated." And I was like, all right. I guess at that moment, this is the time I said, he tell you what he want to do. I guess he didn't want to get in there. So I kind of grabbed him and said, come on, let's go. He took his arm off, you know what I mean? Yep. I said, let's go. So I guess he pushed me. I pushed him back.
Right? You did not push him back.
I pushed him back. He was a grown man. I felt like, you want to fight? I'm going to fight. You want to fight? So we tussled in the hallway. My mom come running from the kitchen. Oh, my God, why you hitting him? And she looked at him and said, why you letting them fight? He said, I didn't want none of that.
Ain't got nothing to do with me. They brothers. They'll be okay.
On the play.
Yeah.
There's a flag on the play. Yeah. You said your brother who has Down syndrome, he pushed you.
Pushed me.
And at that point, it ain't matter what he had. He was a grown man to you.
He was a grown man. We pushed me. Now, I hit him. That's why she I punched him. Now, I punched him like a man. Yeah. But my brother's strong in his legs.
Right.
So he kept kicking me. And I was at the top of the step. So every time I was leaning back, I was leaning further on the steps. So one more kick, I would have fell down the steps.
So he wore you out.
I don't know. I call it.
I think he won.
I call it a tie.
I think he won.
From my vantage point.
What happened? You was there. What happened?
Them kicks look like they hurt. I'm like, I'm not. They'll settle it in a second. They grown men. They'll settle it.
So you wasn't getting in it?
Oh no.
He didn't.
I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm ready to go to bed. Whatever they got going on, ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm minding my business. That's all.
So basically, B is like any other person, any other brother. Listen,
Correct.
it goes down, whatever. You my brother. You been rocking out for years, so listen.
Let's go.
Yep.
And see, they grew up watching wrestling, and Down syndrome, they're strong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he don't realize when he was younger, he didn't realize his strength. So I just didn't play because I wasn't. You ain't gonna pin me down. I'm the mom. You ain't gonna never pin me down. So I ain't play like that. But he, he wrestled with them, his dad and all that. So he was strong. He could pin you down and hold you down. He could hold a grown man down. So I just set my standards and my boundaries in the beginning. Okay. So he never did me. So to fight Ray and come at Ray, that's nothing. Cause
normal for him.
Yeah, he not. Yeah.
But how'd you feel about it when he punched Byron? Like. You knew Byron had him, so. Is that
but I did say to him, "Why you hit him like that?" But shucks, Byron can hold his own.
Oh wow! All right, lesson learned. Listen, no matter if your child has special needs or not, listen, they still going to get in with their siblings to let them rock out.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Basically,
that's basically what it is.
And they know not to bet. Like I said, he defend us like we're brothers. Like if somebody messes with us, he'll jump in.
Oh wow!
Absolutely.
He'll jump in.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He'll jump in.
I'm like,
Brian.
He don't care about that. He saw one of us swinging, so he said, "Yo, y'all fighting, I'm fighting."
Yeah.
Oh wow! So Jaron,
if I'm fussing with Ray, he gonna be on my side.
Yeah, he's done that too.
Yeah.
He done that. He got it.
Yeah.
You be getting it, huh?
I get it. I'm the middle. I get it. I'm the middle. I get
You
it.
know, this Ray thing come up a lot. You fussing with Ray a lot.
I'm the middle. I'm telling you, I need a shirt that says Ray did it.
Yeah.
Ray did it.
We said we was gonna get him a shirt.
Sure, they say Ray did. And Byron don't be playing. Jaron, so growing up, you're the baby boy, and you see all this going down. Now, when did you first notice that Byron was different?
Probably like when I got to like middle school. I think that's when you start to really like be like cognizant of what's going on around you. But it never really seemed different to me because it's been normalized my entire life.
Right.
It's like this is just what we do. It's our way of living. So it's like I didn't really notice that he had a disability because it was just normal to me. Like when we do things, Myron understands everything we doing.
Right.
So it's not like he's doing things or can't do things. I mean, he was making his own breakfast and putting his clothes on and picking out what shoes he wanted to wear and everything. Just like independent. Same thing I was doing. So it's like, to me, I didn't really see it. And I wasn't really aware of what his weaknesses might be until about like middle school.
I think that's so awesome. Basically, you normalized this. You didn't make it seem like, although he had some... although he has special needs, right. You make sure that they still knew that this is a family and that he's different but not different,
right?
In so many ways.
Right.
I think that's important because sometimes I know when Josh was born, preemie, and I did a whole lot special with him, and at times Faith did feel a little slighted, like because he, my main concern was like this boy need to breathe, like he was having a lot of breathing issues, so he got like special privileges and don't do this and I was just a mess, I'm telling you now. I look back on it now. I'm just like, I was really a mess. And not even just with Josh being preemie, but also when my girls came in and both their parents was deceased. I was so much trying to make sure that they were okay. And now hindsight, I'm looking back, like there were some issues that I didn't address with my own kids with Faith particularly, because I was so busy doing this. So I like how you said, listen, we brought this up, y'all raised them together, and this is what it is.
Yeah.
When your friends outside of the house and anything like that, when you look at their siblings, not right now, but growing up, did you see like, okay, their siblings doing A, B, and C, talking a whole lot? Because even though Byron talks, but not as much as another kid. So did you guys what did you feel at that time, or just Tamara just was like, listen, this is love, this is what we do. You better not treat them different.
I'm gonna speak on my behalf. The friend circle that we had honestly was very supportive.
Okay.
Because like Byron used to hang out with us when we go outside, we go around the corner, go play ball. Like they never said anything about Byron or looked down at him a funny way because of his diagnosis. They just knew, that's B. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we used to be outside playing football on the street and stuff. Like Byron's there. Like we playing basketball, Byron's there. Like, and it's like, they just kind of knew, like, yo, wherever we go, Byron coming with us. So it's like all of us or none of us type thing. So it's kind of like they really grew to accept that, and it was never any issues with our friend circle.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was the same way. We never really had a problem with people like I said, we defended me. It's like, yo, that's my brother too. We're gonna protect him too as well. Like on a block, I said, only thing we had to tell him, yo, get out the street, wait your turn. Other than that, everybody took their turn and telling like, yo, wait. That was about it.
So everybody looked out for him, like just like they would you. They looked out. Okay, I think that's pretty cool because so many times. And especially growing up in the years that you guys grew up, because
where you don't see
where you
because when I first found out, I didn't even see a lot of African American Down syndrome children. I was like, well, what happened? Was I the only one? Because I didn't see any for a long time.
Right.
And matter of fact, I just joined an African American Down syndrome group. Where all the children are African American.
Oh, wow.
I just joined that Facebook group.
Okay.
And it's because you don't see us a lot. You see more of us now than you did before.
Right.
So the group was formed so we could all see that we're not by ourselves. Because you feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like going on to a job and you the only one in the job. You kind of feel a little isolated, you know.
Right, yeah.
Even though we all here doing the same thing, you still feel a little different. And so they got this group so we all could see. And it's a lot of us. It's a lot of us doing a lot of great things.
That's good. I mean, African Americans are at the highest for Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Most people think that it's a Caucasian disease or it's a syndrome and stuff like that. And no, that's just because the faces we see.
Right.
But research shows that that's the highest. And most people think if you're 35 or older, you're going to have a child with Down syndrome. But research shows it's actually under 35.
It is. I had Byron. I was 18.
See? Yeah. So people like, well, how'd you have a Down syndrome kid? You're not 35. You're not older. Advanced maternal age is what they say.
And
But
it just genetic. It was just his chromosome. He just got the extra one. That's all. That's why I be telling people, don't be sweating. It's just an extra chromosome. Don't sweat it.
that's what I tell people who have any children that are special needs. A lot of times, I know, being a pediatric complex nurse, I work with families when they get that diagnosis of like cerebral palsy, right? They're like devastated. They're crying, even though they know their kid, all this time building up to it. But understanding that when a diagnosis is actually allow you to get more resources.
It does.
Absolutely.
It does.
Like,
does.
like, I mean, this is going on, but now we can, now that we identify it, we can help you so much more.
Right,
you can get in those Facebook groups. You can speak to other people. You can go to conferences and stuff because to get more education and learn. So some people are so afraid of diagnosis. It's like the end all.
Yeah, and when I was, and I want to speak on that, coming from a spiritual aspect, I don't say he has Down syndrome. I say he was diagnosed.
That's what I say all the time.
With Down syndrome. Because God can do anything.
Absolutely.
But for years I prayed, God heal him, God heal him, God heal him. And then I said, well, why can't God get the glory out of his life the way he is?
I almost clapped on this
microphone. Because that's all you know is you want God to heal him. You want God to heal him. But look what God is doing for who he is. I mean, God knew he was going to have Down syndrome.
Right.
So if he knew he was going to have Down syndrome and he's here with Down syndrome, it's not a mistake.
Right.
So he's going to use him as he is. And that's what he's doing.
Yep.
I think that's so important you said that because a couple weeks ago 2 weeks ago I had Portia on here and her son was diagnosed with autism. And we were talking about that, and I had one of the questions I posed to her because she's a Christian, she has a relationship with God, and I asked her because actually she had twins that were born, and her daughter passed away, and who was actually sicker than Jace.
Okay.
But so I had asked her, I said, were you mad at God? Like, what was your perspective, having a child that is quote unquote abnormal according to science, right? In your relationship with God, how was your faith so important in this walk with him? Because, even us Christians, even us in any faith, like when you get something hit, you like, whoa, hold up, God immediately. And I think it's because the way the world looks at us as if we had to do something wrong or displease God for us to be dealt a certain hand. Job, Job was the man after God's own heart. Job was faithful, right?
Absolutely.
And he got hit with so many things. And I remember one of the scriptures, he said, well, will we take good from God but not bad? You know, and sometimes even as a Christian, we like, listen, man, I'm fighting a good fight of faith. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I still get dealt with this. What's up with that?
Yeah.
So was there a
But
time?
you gotta know the scripture, because the Bible said that we're gonna be faced with some trouble,
Right.
and we're gonna have some heartaches. But he said, "I got you."
Yeah.
And how else do we really know who God is until He brings us through something?
Right.
Absolutely.
And I did ask why God, and that why wasn't a negative. I was like, why? Because I felt like I wasn't capable of taking care of him
Right.
because I didn't know anything. So I'm like, why me, God? What do I do? And he's no longer here with us, Reverend Cofield. He said, God gives special people to special people because God has already ordained you to do
Right.
what you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
It's not something that just happened. It was already in you. I didn't know it.
Right.
And so when you look at it that way, you just take it and you do what you do.
I like what you just said, though, Lolley. You said that when you asked God, it wasn't so much about Byron. You asked God about you more because you felt like you were not built for this. You were not
Right.
capable of doing this. And at the time, remember, what year was this when Byron was born? And he was
82.
like 82. So there wasn't a whole lot
wasn't a
about
whole
Down
lot.
syndrome.
Absolutely.
There wasn't, and actually, they were just coming out of the fact where they weren't institutionalized
Right.
as children anymore.
Right.
Because if your child was abnormal or particularly with Down syndrome, they would put kids away because you know it needed special people to take care of them, as
Right.
if you wasn't special
Right,
to take care of
right,
them.
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that was on the table. That's what the doctor told me. He told me that. He said, you might have just put him in an institution and you can always have another one. You can always have another child. I mean, but I don't fault the doctor
That's all he
because
knew.
that's all he
I'm about
knew.
to say,
all I
yeah, that's
know.
what the time
You know,
was.
so,
back.
but now if you say something like that,
You crazy.
then I'm going to look at you like something wrong. Like, when's the last time you've been to school? But at that time, that was what was on the table.
right.
And that's when I told him. I said, he ain't never got to talk. I'll figure it out.
You know what's interesting? So my sister just had a baby, and when she was going through to see the OB, you know, they run all these different tests now. We talked about it before, and I mean they run like 500 different tests. It's a lot.
Wow.
And they had asked her because, of course, she's advanced maternal age, and her child's father, the sibling has what do you have? Albino and also autistic, right?
Oh, okay.
The older sibling. So the doctor wanted her to do all these tests, and she was like, "For what? I'm not doing these tests." She was like, "You want money?" Because April always talking about you want some money. Y'all want some money out of me. That's April thing. April, no slight to you, but that's how you be telling. She helped me because she be like, "Donna, they just want the money."
That's right.
So, but we had a conversation, and me being a pediatric nurse, breaking down the different tests and why these. But at the end of the day, the reason why they were doing these tests is for a couple reasons. One, for you to decide if you want this child or not.
Absolutely. That's the number
Yep.
one.
Two, prepare if you're going to keep the child, prepare you what you're going to be knowing.
Okay.
And I think it's crazy that they say, listen, if this child isn't what you want or what you thought, we can just get rid of him for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's crazy.
that's the world we live in. We live in a world that we want stuff the way we want it.
Right.
So if it's not what I want, then I don't want it.
Yeah, my sister was like, "Well, I don't know. Y'all
Yeah.
say I'm saving my money. I'm not paying for that. I want to take this child the way this child is. We know what she was at the time. She was like, I'm not doing all that. Y'all
If
crazy."
it doesn't change your decision,
We'll figure it out.
why take the test?
Yeah.
Like it didn't. Like after I had Byron, then when I got pregnant with Ray, they wanted me to do an amniocentesis, and not really knowing all this because this is all new. I agreed to it. But when I was on that table and they came in and they rolled in that little stuff,
And that big needle.
and when I saw that needle, honey, that needle, I'm not lying. I tell anybody, if you was watching Tom and Jerry when I was coming up, and he would chase him with that long needle, I'm telling you, for real, this is not exaggeration. That needle is this long.
yeah, it
And
is.
I said to them, what you gonna do with that? And he said, "This is the needle." He said, it had to be long enough because it had to go to the fluid and all that.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I think I made a mistake. And he said, no, you're good. I said, no, I made a mistake. I said, because I can't do that. He said, well, that was his question. Well, what if something's wrong? I said, whatever it is, we'll deal with it.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
And
right
I just
there.
got up off the table and I said, all the papers I signed, I don't want to do it. And he said, we can't make you. He said, but it's a possibility you could have 2 children with Down syndrome. And I said, I'll just have 2.
That's all right. I came out all right then.
That's still questionable.
All right.
I don't know.
I'm crazy, but I'm all right.
I think that is so important to for people to know that you can make that decision.
Yes.
You can. All right. You thought, because of the history, let's try
Right.
this. But then you thought about no.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. And it's important to know that you can make a decision and you can change your mind.
Absolutely.
And you can't have somebody push you into something that you don't want to do. You got to be able, and I think that's important to have a support system too, because when you don't know, I remember there was a young lady who she was pregnant and they were saying that the baby wasn't going to have part of the brain, right? And they did all the tests. She was going there every week or whatever. And I started towards the end of the pregnancy, I started to mentor her and start going to the doctors with her because I know a lot of medical stuff. And I'm like, that ain't sound right or whatever. But the whole time they were like, the baby was missing part of the brain. They couldn't, the baby came out, wasn't missing part of the brain. Even with all that technology, right?
Right.
So they had all the scans and everything. Now the child has some delays, right?
Right.
But they were talking about a whole part of the brain was missing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes even with science, and I'm a nurse and I'm all science and everything, we don't get it right all the time.
That's right.
And I think it's a shame that sometimes parents are pushed to make a decision based on information that they receive medically, and it may not even be as accurate as we think.
Right.
So I think it's so important that you brought in the fact that you had a relationship with God, though, because you have to have a relationship with God to be able to walk this walk in these things like this.
Right.
About you guys. So, all right. So Byron Beast, the regular boy, y'all fight, y'all bust it up, y'all laugh, all that, and there's no difference. Do you guys, as Ray, you have a couple children already, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's a gnat, y'all, and I don't really do well with that. I ain't trying to go all crazy on y'all with the mics and stuff, but y'all might have to get me tested. But I'm just saying, I can't deal with the gnat, okay? I'm just keeping it real. So, Ray, you already have a couple children,
Yes.
and Jaron, you don't have any children yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay. Was there ever a question in your mind about the gene, right? Because y'all from Tamara, right? And we know that Down syndrome is genetic. Somewhere down there, it could have been 100 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's in there. Was there any question for you, Ray, when I don't know if you planned your kids or anything.
No, I didn't really question it, but like I said, if it came out where it is, I'm just going to take care of it. I was kind of used to it, but I pray for a healthy baby, all the nine.
Did they ask you guys though? Because I know for females, they asked.
They
Okay.
They did ask if do you have any family with history of Down syndrome or blood pressure? They did ask us.
And it was never a concern. You nah, because y'all got Tamara as a mom. See, this is the thing. I think that's the thing. How about you, Jerron? I know you're young and you're married now, and I know you probably.
Yeah, to me, that's not even my concern. Twins run heavy in my wife's family, so that's my more concern. Is that she's gonna pop out 2 and 3 at one time, and I'm like, oh wait, okay. I thought it was one at a time.
One at a time.
So for me, it wasn't really. I don't really have any concern about it.
Okay.
I don't. No.
That's good. I think it's so important that, even though Down syndrome, there's a lot of things that come with Down syndrome, like heart issues, a lot of medical things, a lot of social things like that. But I think it's so important to still kind of normalize it. Even though you're different, but it's so important to normalize it with any special needs child, because you don't want them growing up thinking that they're a problem or, they're. I remember growing up, one of my cousins, I don't know what he was diagnosed with, but he was in a wheelchair. He was nonverbal, but that was my boy. It's James. That was my boy. Like he talked to me, you know. That was the first time I was, as a young kid, introduced to a feeding tube and stuff like that. And you know, you're walking around with a kid in a wheelchair, or what they call spazzing and stuff like that, or when they're sensitive, like super sensitive, and they start looking at you like you're crazy or whatever. You know, like. I think they did that to me when my daughter was 3 years old. I took her to the mall. Faith was 3 years old, and she had a temper tantrum. Now, I had her at 19, so at this point, I think I was 21. She ain't never go to the mall with me again. Listen.
That was a temper tantrum. That was the act of
But that was a temper tantrum, but you would have thought something was wrong with that girl.
She must have saw somebody else.
She must have saw somebody else. She went on, and you know what I did? I looked at her, and I walked past her. I let her do all her thing and the thing. All on the floor. I let her do her thing. I told her dad, let me tell you something. She ain't never going back to the mall.
You be acting like this. You be thinking with your dad.
Listen, but you have kids that you know, like you can't just leave them there. Some kids, when they have special needs, and you get all these looks and stuff all over the place. And I think that's how you kind of started to be different, right?
Yeah, I did.
Talk about that a little bit more.
Because we were at the mall one time, and this little kid was just staring. The kid was, and the parents was trying to get her not to stare. But she could see something was different, and I guess, you know, as kids, they just want to know.
Yeah, curious.
So instead of, you know, running from it, I just went on and shared with her. And at the end, she gave B a hug, and B gave her a hug, and she was fine. You know, and sometimes we want to push stuff and just say, don't worry about it. But a lack of knowledge is ignorance,
right?
You know, but you want us to include them, but I don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do when I had them. So how can you feel somebody else that not even related to them could be feeling the same way? So because I'm feeling this way, I might mistreat him, not on purpose, but because of how I'm feeling. I don't know what to do. So when you teach people how to do it, or what's to expect, it takes a lot of the stress and the pressure away, and it's easier for them to include. Right. And that's the whole thing. It was just, you know, include them to the level, to their limitations. All of us have limitations. Right. We cannot do everything.
Yep.
So what's the difference? Right. They can't do something, you can't do something. What's the difference? We all can't do something. You know? So it's really no difference. So I'm just trying to get the word out that they're no different than you or I. You know, B likes basketball. His favorite show, everybody keep Jamie Foxx in prayer, but absolutely. Byron loves Jamie Foxx. We watch Jamie Foxx every day.
And it's on DVD.
We got everything. We got DVD. Yep. We record on the TV because he's got to watch them. Who else got a favorite show? We all got a favorite show.
We all got a favorite show.
So,
now he also Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah,
one of my favorite shows. He
likes, for some reason, he likes a lot of stuff that's comedy. And he literally laughs.
Yeah, because he understands what's going on.
He literally laughs at the right time, because sometimes I'll be watching him and saying, do you really understand that? Because that is the time to laugh. Right. You know? And so they're just people.
Yep.
Don't look at the diagnosis. They're just people.
Right. You said something important. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
You know, when you know something, you become better. You be able to converse regarding it. I think now the world is really coming to a grips where everybody's different and understanding that everybody's different and be okay with that. Because growing up, like, that wasn't it. People was teased. I was teased for just being dark. Right. You know, so there was so much negativity in regards to just humans in general, people in general. But I think with this generation, they say it's the millennials. I don't know. I'm about to be 43, so I don't know where I fall in Gen Z, X, 2QRTV. I don't even know either. I don't know. But I see now that, and I think it's because we're having conversations. Right. That younger generation is able to understand, you know, seek first to understand versus be understood. Like, I'm different, you different, we all different, you know. Because there were times, even as parents, like, when our kids would be different, we would be upset with them for being different. Or you're not acting like this, or you're not acting like that. But instead just raising them for who they are.
Yeah.
And I think and accepting them. And I think that was what struck me about Byron is that you guys accept Byron for who he is, and you rock out with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know. And I think that's so important, especially because, again, the statistics show that they say that black people can't get along. Black families don't help. Black families this and black families that. But then we have, you know, and you guys are young men, like, you know, helping your mom take care of your brother. Yeah. Now, when did it start changing the roles a little bit where, you know, Byron's the big brother, and then, like you said, you had to step in a couple times. So you had to start doing a little bit more for Byron as he aged and as your mom aged. I'm not saying, like, you know. I'm not,
as she became more seasoned.
As she became more seasoned.
Yeah, a little seat.
As the years started changing. The seasons started changing.
When he can start driving and I ain't have to drive and you drive and you take him, you go. Yeah.
That's about when it was started.
Yeah, I guess when it was like when you tell him something, they're like if it's, usually he'll get right on it, and maybe next be like 2-minute delay, like taking a little bit longer. So you got to double check on to make sure he got it right, or he might put a shoe on right, but he might have left foot over right.
Okay.
So you know certain things you got to check. You know you might tell him to do it, he'll do it, but he might have it backwards.
Right. Okay.
Right. So you know, just small stuff like that.
Okay.
So, and like just there, like when it comes to giving Byron, I do baths because shower doesn't work for me because for whatever reason he don't want to be in the shower. He fights me like. When I say fight, I ain't saying physical fight.
Just
her.
Yeah, it's like water. Like I took a shower. I'm all soaking wet. And I'm like, what? They do it, and they're not soaking wet. Or go to the dentist. The doctor told me not to bring him back to the dentist.
Told me to go with him.
Told Ray to come with him. Because when Ray go, when I go, Byron is just all over the place. We need 3-4 people to hold him down. Ray
I go, well, listen, before we get out of this car, we have a talk. I said, look, we're going in here. We're going to handle what we got to handle.
Yep.
I talked to him like a grown man.
Yep, because he understands.
And I said, look.
I did that too, but it ain't work.
Nah, I'm
But
like,
you mom, though. That's always happening.
yeah.
That's
I'm
moms,
like, you
right?
good? You good? We going in here? Yeah. All right, let's go. All right. So that's his moment. That's how he gets in there. He goes in there. I'm saying, listen, then we had to talk in the car. Yeah. So just chill, relax. I got you. We done. Like, you know, I talk lingo like I'm talking like in the street with him. And then I guess that's our communication versus her. Dear Byron, stop, Byron. Don't do this. Don't do this. Hold on. He probably like, man, this woman getting on my nerves. I know it's coming in the brain. I'm just saying it for him.
That's why he like watching them comedy, so he can just be laughing about stuff.
Like, this woman getting on my nerves.
And I think a part of it too is like, even though he is the bigger brother, it's like my brother's not scared, so why should I be? You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's still like we always say all the time, he still understands what's going on around him. Right. So it's like I think seeing his brothers not worry about certain things or not be, you know, so shook up, especially when it comes to you know, like things like showering, that water get going. Them two, my mom and Byron, they don't mesh well. The water gets spraying, and she's like, "Where you going? Come here, get back in the water." I think that doesn't have that feeling for him. But when we turn the water on and he sees like we're not worried about nothing you doing, just get in the shower, bro.
And then also you guys are men, like you know, it is really different between a male and a female.
Yep.
Mothers and fathers, or father figures, or somebody that's right there. You know, the voice is different too. The bass, like you know, it is. It's a little different. And then also with moms, like kids know what to get away with their mom. Like, they kind of know, even though we could be the hardest mom or whatever, but we still a little soft on the inside. Y'all like, what we ain't doing is this, okay?
No, we ain't doing it.
Just get in the shower.
I mean, I'll give him leeway if he comes over my house. I give him leeway. Let him do what he want to do. He might open up the refrigerator, something that he can do at the house. He'll look in there, close the door, he'll sit back down. He probably want to get over there. Get out the refrigerator, boy. You know what I mean? So I guess he feel like if I come to my brother's house, I get the freedom to do what I want.
Like most people got to go to their sibling house to get away from their mom or their dad, right?
So I guess he get the freeway. You know, he puts his feet up with everything. He walks around. do we want to do?
Relax, huh?
Yeah, he's relaxed. I think he's relaxed.
They try to say
Yeah,
too
I
hard
know.
on my
They
boy.
try.
I ain't saying it, but
They're saying it without saying it.
I
You
ain't saying
hard
it
on
without
the boy.
saying it.
Yeah, that's what they saying.
Yeah,
That's
structure.
what they say.
That's what she's gonna say. She's gonna say structure.
Yeah,
It's
that's
structured.
what it is.
structured.
That's what it is. But that's what you gotta have. You gotta have a balance. So you gotta
Yeah.
have structure, and then you gotta have leisure.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
leisure.
I like that. Structure and leisure.
Yeah.
'Cause I got steps in the back of my house. My mom be like, he don't go. I said, no, he goes up the steps. Like, literally, he goes up the steps. My mom like, watch out. I said, no, he got it. Chill. Go ahead, take off. We got
Because
this.
she's parenting out and she doesn't want nothing to happen to him.
Right.
That's
And
that.
but I am there. I'm behind him. He's going up the steps like it
It's
ain't
fire
nothing.
escapes. I don't like them.
He goes up like it's nothing. Like,
I don't like
I
him.
don't like them.
Byron, if Byron can say, he probably say, Mom, go home.
Go
home.
But he knows the difference because Jaron got steps
Oh yeah.
that she got the steps, but they don't have no back to them.
Okay.
So you could see through them. Mm-hmm. He know the difference. He don't like his steps because he
At
got
all.
to that landing and he stopped. He was like,
Because it goes up. It's like 10 steps first, and then it's like 5 steps, and then it goes up again for like another 5. And I think he was there like a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that. And he was walking up the steps. He got up the first landing, no problem. When he went up that second landing, and he saw nothing but the ground, I saw him go reaching for that rail. I'm like, hold on, yo. What's going on? I'm like, you good? I got you. I'm right here. Like, I don't know, yo. I see the ground a little too high up.
I would have been like, Mom, where you at? Where you at?
I smack him on the butt. Yo, come on, let's go, baby. Come on, let's go.
Ray rough with him. That's
Yeah,
why Byron
come on,
beat him
man.
up. That's why.
that's why.
Come on, man.
That's why.
That's why. Let me ask you another question. Probably a little bit more serious note. I was on with a couple guys who, one was my cousin. He's raising his niece who's autistic, who was diagnosed with autism. And then I was talking to Portia, raising her son. Do you have like a, we're always forever moms, right? We're always going to be moms to our kids, but it's a different forever mom when your child has special needs, right? You're always going to be taken care of medically, financially, and all that. When the other kids get older, you're not taking care of them financially. They're going off to have a family. They're going off to do what they got to do. But with some kids like Byron, he's not going to go off to he's not going to go get married. He's not going to get a family. So, I mean, not saying he can't because they have a show. They have a show called,
Yep.
it was it's on Netflix. My sister was telling me about kids with autism and Down syndrome. They was getting married.
They
Oh,
married.
yeah.
Yeah.
Married. Yeah, and she was telling me about that, so that's possible. But in Byron's case, like, how he is, do you have a backup
Ain't nobody
plan?
marrying Byron. Ain't nobody marrying Byron. Not that there's nothing negative about Byron. Byron ain't gonna do nothing. Ain't nobody
At
marrying
all.
no man doing nothing.
No, but like,
He laying
Byron
back.
like women.
Byron want you to take care of him.
Byron ain't getting married to nobody. He said,
Right, because ain't nobody just
He ain't
gonna,
taking care of you.
take care of him.
You
He
take
want to
care of
lay
him.
back and take care of him.
Yep.
That Byron, he said, I'm fine right where I am. He got my mom and I got my aunt friend. He doing
Yep.
the day.
right.
People take care of him.
So what is your backup plan if something happens to you? Do you have a backup plan for Byron? That's
Oh
the
yeah,
question.
we have all sat down. I've already laid it out. It's all in paper.
Good.
They got an email. Everybody know Jaron and Steph. He's going with Jaron and Steph because Ray has his own too.
And he gonna beat him up.
and they be talking about, and I'm gonna come back. But it's all laid out on paper.
That's good.
My will is done. I have everything for Jaron. Don't have to worry about papers already signed. All that stuff, and that's the stuff that people don't think about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I went to a workshop, and in this workshop, it was telling me all the things that I needed to have and in place.
Right.
So I put that in place.
I think that's good. That's one of the things that even sometimes even with children who are quote unquote normal, like we don't even put that in place. But it's so much more needed even for a child with special needs because again, we talk about how they have these institutions
Absolutely.
and things like that, right?
Yeah.
They become warded to the state,
Yeah,
honestly.
absolutely.
Right.
And I think it's so important to to have a plan. Because I know even though my sister and her husband passed away and their children were normal, like they didn't have any, well, at the time they didn't seem like they had anything going on with them.
Yeah.
And she didn't have a plan, but we had a conversation the day before she passed away, right? If something, you know how sisters do, if something never happened to me, you take care of my kids or something. I didn't know it was going to be the next day, right? And because both parents were deceased, technically they belong to the state.
They sure do.
So the next day I went down and make sure I took care of that.
Right.
And I thought about it with my own kids, like, all right, so I think like if something happens to them, they're gonna go with their father. But I don't know. I don't have it written down.
Right.
I don't have it a plan. Like and if it's a plan, does everybody know about this plan?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that's so important. There's a couple medical complex kids that I was their nurse, and their grandmoms are taking care of them and family members, and they have nobody else to take care of their kids. So it's about 4 different families. If something happened to them, I'm responsible for the kid. It's all laid out. It's all written down. It's all notarized. Everything that I literally will take this special needs kid because I know them. But that also takes the burden off the family. Like, you know, if something happened to me, because a lot of people are so scared that what's going to happen to my child if I leave.
Right.
You know, especially if they're complex.
And that is because that's a reality.
Right.
It's a reality that the parents usually leaves before the children. Now it's flip-flopping now because of what our kids are doing, not what is naturally supposed to happen.
Right.
But so you think about that. So you don't know what to do, because I never knew anything to do until this workshop came. That's why it's good to get into groups.
Right.
Because this is the information. Like, I just assumed I was Byron's mom, that was enough. When he became an adult, I had to go get custody.
Yes, it's a whole
of Byron. It's a whole lot that people don't know.
Touch on that a little bit too, because I think people don't realize as their kids age how things change once they turn 18.
Right, because I had to get legal custody of Byron. I had to have his guardianship, medical, all of that, so I can make the decisions for Byron because he was an adult. Even though he had Down syndrome, and you know he needs somebody to help him, legally, this is what I had to do in order to be able to do what I'm doing.
Right.
So when I said, guardianship, I'm his mother. And they went on to explain it to me because most of us think that I gave birth. But even if, even the little kids, when you have a child, no one has custody of that child until you go and file for custody. Whether that child is a normal birth or not. If you just had a baby, you just are raising that child, but you don't have custody. No one has custody until you go and get the paperwork done.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, all these years, I never knew that. Nobody never told me that, not even with them, you know? But so I think it's important that when you do have someone that has a special needs, make sure you are tapping into everything out there for them. It's always good to get, most of the states have an organization, a Down Syndrome Association group. Get in those groups because that's where you get the information from.
Right.
So that's how they came to plan. Our plan came because of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't just a will. I got estate planning and everything. And there are things like, when you have a child that has Down syndrome, you can't leave them any money. Because if they are getting disability, they can only have a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
Which is hardly nothing to live off. You know, so you need to know, how do I plan for that?
Right. Wow.
And there are ways that you can. I'm not an expert in it, but I got some paperwork and I got it done. And then what I found out, because I thought all I needed was a will.
Right.
If I got a will, I'm fine. If you have just a will, you're not fine.
Okay.
A will just says what you want done, but a will can be contested. So if one of the kids want to go against what you got on that will, guess what? It can happen.
Wow.
Regardless to you wanting to know, this is what I want done. So you have to go further than a will.
Okay.
So those are the things that I found out in these groups, and those are the things that we got done. And so I'm like, okay now, like totally the paperwork is okay. So I just did all that, and I just told them what it was. I emailed them; they both have it.
Okay.
Not no one got it, and the other one doesn't. Both of them have
What's
everything.
going on? Yeah.
That is so important.
And I made sure I crossed over. Like there's two beneficiaries on policies. It's not just one person.
Right.
It's already split on how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't want to talk about it, but you got
we
to
have
talk
to
about
because
it.
it's real. Like even just what you just kicked the fact that so it's not just will, but there has to be a plan,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you can't leave a special needs kid like that money. Like everybody want to leave that kid money or whatever, but no, you got to do it in a different way. Just that knowledge and knowing that you know I have to have a will, I have to have a plan, and I have to have it lined out, and the people who are part of this plan has to know about it, so there will be no problems. I think that's so important because that's caring. You know, that's being a good steward. You know, we was talking about being a good steward.
Right,
That's being a good steward. And I think a lot of parents out there don't know that you have to have a plan.
Yes.
That's wow. That's deep. That's a little deep.
Yeah.
And I asked that question because I constantly ask, you know, what happens to a child, and I've seen it. You know, they're in these homes, in these group homes, and they die in these group homes, not around their family and stuff. But the fact that what I love about your family is that your family all hands on deck.
All hands
All hands on deck, like you know.
Literally.
It's like everybody in there. We in it to win this, even though we got to fight. I'm gonna keep laughing because I'm just here imagining.
I wish
I'm
we had
imagining
cell
Byron.
phones.
I'm telling you.
I wish we had cell phones like we have now. Back then, and you know, you could record it. What was? But we was here, so you had to be there. You had to be there. But it was it was like a fight on the street. You know, it wasn't no family thing. Like it would you wouldn't have thought they was brothers.
I know that. I ain't know that Negro. I ain't gonna say the hood term, but I ain't know that Negro.
I think that is so important. That's funny because y'all. I bet you there was a lot of laughter going on in your house.
Absolutely.
It was all the time. All the time.
Either dancer.
All right, before we close out, we want to talk about a little bit about more Be Different.
Oh,
the
okay.
things. I think you got some shirts. What you got?
I did. Well, I got one on. I got on one of my shirts now. It's called #BeYou. This one came out because it's like I was telling, you tell people, be yourself. You okay being you.
Yeah.
It's okay to be you. You can like stuff that somebody else is doing and, learn some stuff from, but it's okay to be you because can't no one else be you but you. You know what I mean? So they didn't wear their shirts. And
you put it in text.
They gonna blame you.
They gonna blame
a
me.
subtle reminder. Don't forget your tomorrow.
Yeah. But this is another shirt, and we was talking about normal. And this shirt says, I'm not normal.
Okay.
Because I am who I am.
Right.
And what is normal?
Yeah.
I think normal is overrated.
Absolutely.
I think that might be my next shirt. Normal is overrated.
Yeah.
Because
Mark that down.
Because normal,
It's already been copyrighted for anybody else. It's already in production. It's already done.
Don't even take it.
I think that was so
coming for
cool
all
about that
coins.
normal thing, though,
Yeah.
because what happens is, one of my favorite quotes is that comparison is the thief of joy.
Right.
So if we're comparing ourselves to another person because we think they're normal.
Absolutely.
Then it makes us feel bad, makes us feel different. So I like that.
Yeah. Okay. And this is our first shirts, and it says, "It's okay to be different." I wore that when I came the last time, and we have them in several different colors. This one's red. We have a gray one. I brought a pink one. We have pink, and this is my guy right here. I gotta go to school. Finish going to school. I go to YouTube
That's
school.
right.
His name is Wiz.
Oh, okay, so you remember?
His name is Mr. Wiz.
Okay.
And just he was designed to be able to talk to the kids on their level. Because I really want to reach the elementary because those are the most important years.
All right.
And if we can reach them and let them know they are okay the way they are,
Right.
they don't have to compromise themselves to be somebody else.
Yep.
Can you imagine when you they grow up, and
Right.
all they gonna do is transfer that to somebody else, to their own seed, somebody else's seed?
Right.
How much better the world would be in? Because we looking at all these different rappers and all this, and I ain't got nothing against rappers, because you know my son's a
I was
rapper.
about to say, wait a minute.
But we looking at them, and they wanting to become them, and they don't see the gift that's already on the inside of them.
Powerful.
So that's really what Be Different is about, because Byron is definitely gifted. And then we have the 2 books. I'm working on a 3rd one.
Okay.
This one is #Raise Your Hand. And this is for those who struggle in school and feel embarrassed because they don't know the answer.
Okay.
And to find out later, the best thing to do is to raise your hand, because if you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
But how you gonna know unless you ask?
That's what they say.
And
That
it's,
dumb
and,
question is
and
the
it's
question I
okay.
ask.
Yeah, and I told them, I don't care what you got asked. You asked it for you to know it.
Right.
Dumb question is the question not asked.
And then I have our first book, which was #Be Different.
Right.
This is actually about Byron. This is about him. A couple people didn't even know I had a book, and they read it. So they was like, "Oh my God, this is really you." I took it to the school, and the kids was like, "You my teacher, but you wrote this book?" Like teachers, like we don't write books. We only tell them what to do, right? And in the book is Mia and Manny, and this is having the right friends. Mia and Manny are, but when you get them, you can name them what you want to name them. But these are Byron's guys, and they are Mia and Manny. And actually, Manny is Byron's nickname. So they are friends who encourage them to do what's right and encourage them to make that stand.
That's good.
And of course, you got to have a bag or something to put all your stuff in,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Right. So this is a pouch. It's a Be Different pouch, and it has Mia and Manny on it. It has a zipper. You know, put your pens and pencils and things like that in there. You know, so you can put all your good stuff in there, right? I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. The thing about that I'm catching from a lot of things that you have, Tamara, is that it's not just based on a diagnosis of Down syndrome. This is life.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, teaching these kids at a younger age, you know, elementary, preschool age, because that's when they're sponges, right? That's
Right.
when, that's when they start learning who they are and seeing other people. So if we can catch them early of having their
Absolutely.
perspective to be like everybody's different and it's okay to be
Yes.
different at such a young age versus, you know, once you like
Yeah.
15, 16, you're like, yo, you know, trying to be down with the, I don't think they call Jones anymore, and be down with somebody. Maybe True Loudly, I don't know.
You can be down with us.
You gotta want to be down.
Right.
But I think it's so important because there's so many lessons in what you're
Absolutely.
doing. You know, even with the little friends, like it's so. It's a lot in there. I definitely thank
Absolutely.
you. You guys, what do you have to say before we close out? What do you have to say to encourage families to stick together, to encourage them even if there's somebody medically complex in your family? Like, what do you have to say for people out there who, you know, may be a little bit standoffish if their sibling has a special need, or may just anything? I mean, I'm just saying it because a lot of things are out there, a lot of thoughts. But what do you have to say to people?
Well, I know what this guy had said to me earlier that kind of stick to me. Your struggle will become your strength. So whatever you struggle with, it will make you stronger if you just keep focused, keep determined, and just keep with it. So your struggle is going to turn into strength. Don't let it hold you down. Keep your head up, and it's, you know what I mean, it's okay to open up and say something. You know, you're not alone. Everybody goes to something.
Right.
Everybody's not perfect.
Absolutely.
All right.
And for me, it's more of you can kind of create the reality you want to live in. So I know people see these TV families and they like, oh, my family's not like that. That's fine. But if you build the structure by taking some of the things you've seen and you apply that to your family, you can build and have that reality of what you see displayed in front of you, whether it be like old shows like Family Matters, the Cosby shows, you know, things like that, where you had this TV family that I want my family to be like that.
Yeah, idolize it.
You can create that reality, and that can be what your family can be like. Now, it's not going to be exactly like that because we're all unique.
Right.
We all have our own uniquenesses. But you can build a foundation and a structure and build, let's say, a foundation of love and say, here, you're safe.
Right.
Here, whatever you're going through, you can discuss it. We'll handle it. We love here. That's how we handle everything we do here. You can create that reality. So having that mentality to say, I can create the reality I want to live in is what I would tell people to do.
Wow. Like, basically, you got the power. Like, you
Yeah,
got
absolutely.
the power and the choice. Like,
That's it.
that, yeah. Y'all got me up in here like, ooh. I'm like,
Can you preach?
round three coming. Round three coming. But no, I think that is so important. That is very encouraging, because like life be lifing.
Yes.
And the fact that you can just take a stand and say, listen, I may not be them, but I could take some of that stuff and apply it to my family and my life
Yep.
so that we can be who
Right.
we want to be or
Yes.
create our own reality. I think that's
Absolutely.
important. And hands down to you, like, I mean, they're phenomenal. Like, they're,
Praise God.
sometimes we as parents, we worry, like,
Yeah.
over the years, some
Get
stuff
me, get
going
me on my knees.
Yeah.
Get me on my
We are. We are.
But I think it's
Yeah,
so
they-
important. That,
God, I am proud of to be their mom. Like, some people, kids they feel they shame. I'm not ashamed that they're mine. I'm grateful. I thank God every day because they could be worse. They all and none of us perfect.
right.
Absolutely.
But I know some parents who are struggling with some other stuff
Yeah.
with their children. So, you have to look at your children and see what you're not doing. Like, I ain't going to no prison to visit nobody right now.
You did tell me that.
You know what I'm saying? I told
You get
them,
one call.
You get one. I did.
Yeah, she told
And
us.
you know what? You have to set the standard. I told them, you go. I go anywhere with you one time.
That was the rule.
But I'm not going back. So if we go to the prison, I'm only gonna go one time. You go back,
So,
I ain't putting nothing on no books.
I ain't
I ain't
never-
going.
Yeah, I ain't never
You
went.
have to set the standard.
Right.
You have to set
I
the
think-
standard.
Yeah.
And that's all Be Different is doing, is setting the standard that it's okay to be you.
Right.
It's okay to love you. It's okay to love your flaws because we're not
Absolutely.
all perfect.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't go around and say, "Oh, I can't do this because I'm not that good at that."
Right.
Because even with the book, that book was prophesied some years ago. I said, I'm not even into English like that. So I was like, I know this prophecy is a lie. I'm gonna be honest with you. And it wasn't, because it manifested. That's because I didn't know what was in us, in myself.
Right.
And that's what our babies are struggling. I'm working the school system every day. And if we don't get our babies, I don't know where they're going to be. But they don't know who they are. They're struggling who they are. And they have circumstances and situations. But we got to pour into them.
Absolutely.
Especially at a young age.
Be different. If we can catch, because I said, oh God, what am I supposed to do? He said that this generation gonna cost you some work, but catch the next generation.
Right.
So we can still do it. It's gonna cost us the work,
Right.
but the next generation get them.
Right. I mean, work. Everything requires work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everything requires work. I love it because Be Different is going to go somewhere where we don't even know because it's for every. I think even in middle schools and high schools they can use this.
Absolutely.
Everywhere in colleges. Like I feel
Yep.
like this is such a needed topic. And that I think the world is changing a little bit, so they're starting to welcome, being different. And I think that this is just going to continue to take off. I did put on Facebook today, if anybody's following me, all of Tamara's information, the website, the phone number, everything else. If you tell us,
if you call that number right now, I paid my bill, y'all. I want to tell you, I paid my bill. But right now, Verizon is my Wi-Fi and my phone. They're coming out to come and look at it. But if they use that number, I can give them another number until that gets fixed.
or they email you.
Okay.
We provided the website.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah.
I said she wasn't found everything.
That's
Yeah, I put everything because what I want to do is help
Yeah.
promote it because I believe in anybody who is tapping into their gift, and their gift is to serve other people and make people better. We have to promote them. We have to, because pretty much what we need to do in this world is to serve one another.
Amen.
And we have different ways of doing it. So what you have to serve someone, people will benefit from it. So anybody, if you guys have something regarding parenting or anything like that, just reach out to me because I want you on my show. I want to promote your things because we're in this together.
Absolutely.
All right.
Right.
Thank you guys for being my guest. It was
Thank
fun.
you,
It was
thank
real,
you.
Thank
as
you.
usual. As you guys know, we're here every
Every
Thursday. Sorry about it. You know, they had me teardropping in here a little bit. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. We're bringing back the beauty, nobility, and responsibility back into parenting. And remember that we're doing that as a community because it takes a village to raise children. Also, next Thursday we're going to be with a mom who her journey to parenting. Because remember, we understand that not all mothers or parents are biological. There are some parents who adopted or fostered. There's different for parenting, but we're going to listen to her journey and how she became a mom. Again, next Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you guys for tuning in.